guys, Tours20 here, and welcome to Cities Skylines Down Under. Yep, that is now the official name of this series. Yeah, thanks so much for everybody who tuned in last week or the week before, whenever it was, and contributed to that name. There's heaps of really good names. I was very close to choosing a bunch of them, but I did choose this one for one particular reason, which I will get into pretty shortly. I almost chose Cities Skylines Outback series or something like that, but yeah, I'm going to get into that pretty shortly. And there's some pretty good and exciting reasons why I chose this name in particular, even though I don't really like Australia being, I don't know, classified as Down Under. I don't know, it just seems really touristy to me. I don't know why, but I've never really liked that name. But in terms of a series, like, I think it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I'll be talking about that a little bit later. But before I do, I just want to talk about what I'm going to be doing in this episode. So as you can see, I'm building a bit of a shoddy roundabout. I am like not the greatest builder of roads in this game. Yeah, like, you know, if Crumbs McGee is watching, mate, please, like, no judgment, please. I'm pretty much just going for it. In Springwood, my other series, I really don't ever attempt roads. I'm kind of more a bit of a layout sort of a guy. Enjoy doing layout of cities rather than kind of getting into the road detail. But for this series, I'm actually kind of taking on a bit more of a road layout kind of a thing. And this is kind of my first attempt of you know, kind of putting a bit of detail into my road layout. And I am actually pretty excited with how it turned out. I mean, you can probably look at it right now and think it looks pretty, you know, pretty bad. And you know, it does look pretty bad, but you know, eventually it's kind of turns out pretty cool. And it's also my first time using traffic precedents. I've used it a couple of times in Asara with my other series, but yeah, I kind of use it pretty extensively in this series, and you'll see some of the other things that I kind of end up doing. So I am building a roundabout, and this roundabout is going to be probably one of the largest in this town, and is really kind of the starting point of me working on this sort of downtown, this town center. This roundabout actually has a lot of traffic going through it, and it's kind of, you know, connecting two highways together. Two highways that kind of sort of intersect the town, and also are kind of you know, running adjacent to the town. So, you know, quite a lot of traffic does come through here, and it probably should be a little, you know, a little bit bigger for a roundabout that handles so much traffic. But I kind of wanted to keep it a little bit small because I did want to see it get a little bit congested. And the roundabout in town, in Kalgoorlie, that's the one I'm trying to say, is not the biggest roundabout. So I did kind of wanted to model a little bit off that. And as you can see, I'm trying really hard to kind of make this totally circular roundabout. But at the same time, I don't think it's like the most important thing to have, you know, perfect symmetry, or, you know, things lining up exactly. You know, in town planning, and I'm not a town planner, I just, you know, admire it quite a lot. It's not always, I mean, sure, there is probably a lot of symmetry and a lot of exact lines, but you know, it's also a bit of all over the place, and I'm a bit more of a, you know, near enough is good enough, particularly with my roads. And it's also quite a unique roundabout, I think. I haven't really seen that many like this done by any other creators. Reason why it's a bit unique is it kind of has this, I don't really know how to describe it, but you know, this kind of line that I'm painting down right now, where you can kind of basically bypass the roundabout altogether, but then at the same time it has this, you know, 2 lanes of one-way traffic that circulates. It goes around the roundabout. Oh man. If I'm a bit all over the place, I am super pressed for time. I am heading off to New York in a couple of days, and I've been trying really hard to get some videos up and ready so that my channel doesn't go completely quiet for a couple of months. And yeah, I mean, my time is really running out, and I've also got a job application that I am desperately, whipping out. It's for a government job, so it's quite, I don't know. In Australia, the government jobs just, the applications are just ridiculous, and I'm just finding that out. So excuse me if it's not the greatest commentary. I'm pretty much just a one take kind of a guy. No, that's a lie. I'm usually like a 1,000 take kind of a guy, but today I'm a one take kind of a guy, which is a real shame. But it's just the way it is. Like I said before, I don't usually build roundabouts, so it's a lot of trial and error. And I did want to keep a lot of the trial and error in because I kind of wanted you to see a bit of my thought process as I worked on this sort of roundabout for the very first time. And I'm also using these lines that already painted down on the road. And eventually I do get rid of them. I'm just using them as a little bit of a guide for now, even if I'm not being very strict with them. And oh geez, I'm just watching this right now and I'm making an absolute mess of it. So yeah, crumbs, please, man, just look away, divert your eyes. And I do apologize if the color does change. At this stage, I'm still very much trialing how I want the series to look. I think this is the last time I actually do any changes. I change from this color that you see right now back to normal. I'm really just kind of trialing it out and to see if I want it to look a particular way. So let's talk a bit about the series. I ended up choosing the name Cities Skylines Down Under. There's a couple of people who mentioned it, and I think it's quite a snappy name for the series, and it actually fits really well with what I'm doing. I'm sure a lot of you probably think that Cities Skylines, something based in the outback would probably be a little bit more appropriate, but I've actually got some plans that I'd like to share with you now. So originally, when I first started this series, I intended to release 2 maps. One map was going to be based in the outback, which is the one that you see right now. And then the second map was going to be based on the beaches of Australia, and in more specifically, kind of around the Newcastle, New South Wales sort of area. Obviously not building directly off Newcastle, but kind of using that as a bit of a starting point for building a little bit of a town. Now, building maps for me just takes forever, and getting this series out took months. So I kind of just wanted to release it as is and kind of just put it to you and just kind of let you know that at some point there's going to be another, this series is going to expand, and I'm going to expand this whole City Skylines Down Under to just the greater region of Australia. So we're going to be kind of going into a bit more detail on some other places in Australia, kind of around the beaches area, around the coastline, and kind of where the ore industry meets the sea. And this is a really interesting part of Australia. I think it's a place I've visited a couple of times. You can see a couple of pictures up here of some places that's, I'm going to be modeling a lot of this series off, and a lot of the kind of ideas I want to implement in this series. So yeah, this series is going to take on a lot of different shapes and a lot of different flavors, I guess. And the whole idea of it is just to be kind of building within the Australian theme, because I think it's quite a unique theme, and kind of maybe even talking about some things that a lot of people probably don't even really know about Australia. Especially if you're from overseas, or if you kind of just live in the cities of Australia, kind of just sharing with people a little bit more about our culture and our cities and towns and everything like that. So I'm pretty excited to be getting into that. I'm really excited to share that with you guys as well. And yeah, I mean, a little bit later down the track, when I've got a little bit of extra time, I do plan to release that other map, which is well and truly on its way. I have definitely started it. but you know, I'll probably be working on this one a little bit more before I get into that. And for those people who probably just like the Springwood side of my channel, look, Springwood is not dead. It's far from it. It's well and truly alive. Springwood episodes take so long to make. It's a huge process making Springwood, and the episodes are kind of they're not just the time lapse. There's a lot of cinematics involved, and cinematics take a long time. And it's more city planning in Springwood, whereas this is kind of detail. And believe it or not, but kind of like planning the city for me takes way more time than working on detail. So yeah, I mean, I planned to have a Springwood episode out this week, but it's just not going to happen. You're actually not going to get a Springwood episode for probably about a month, and I'm really sorry about that. I had a whole weekend to work on that episode, and I worked solidly on that episode, and I still didn't finish it, let alone do commentary. So yeah, super sorry about that. Springwood is not dead. Like, don't worry about that. It just takes ages to record it, and I kind of started something pretty ambitious with that episode, and I just couldn't finish it. And I'd rather quality over quantity on my channel. You know, I really want episodes of Springwoods to be of a certain standard. I don't want to just be shooting out episodes and, you know, people kind of just, you know, don't really appreciate it as much. So yeah, apologies for that, but it will be coming out, but just not for a long time. So really sorry about that. No one's more disappointed than me. But yeah, you've got a couple of Australian episodes coming out, even if it's not really your even if it's not really your thing. So sorry about that. A bit more about what I'm doing. This roundabout, yeah, as you can see, it's a pretty unusual shape, and I didn't just pull it out of my ass. Like, it's actually I'm kind of following the one in Kalgoorlie a bit, and you know, whether it's exactly how it's meant to look or whether it's totally practical, I just kind of went for it, and it functions pretty well, and I think it looks pretty cool. It's probably just not, you know, probably not the most accurate of roundabouts, but it is definitely, it's one of my first detailed roundabouts, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. A little bit later on in this series, I will be getting into more of the town. I'm actually kind of working on the town a little bit more, because I do want a bit more of a population kind of thriving in this region before I kind of expand on detailing the outer edges of it. Now that the mine's pretty much done, I can actually start working on the town a little bit more, because, you know, the mine's a really big part of this series, and I wanted that to be done before I kind of started the town. Now that that's done, I can kind of get a bit more into, you know, the town planning. And the town's pretty unique. Like I said before, I'm definitely not building exactly Kalgoorlie, but, you know, I am definitely inspired by this area. And, you know, if you're new to Australia or Kalgoorlie, or even just, you know, you have no idea where it is, here's some pictures. Here's some of the Google images of just me scrolling around and floating around. And, you know, if you're watching this channel and you're kind of interested, I highly recommend you go and check it out. It's a pretty cool area. It is pretty much like a small country town in Australia. But the really unique part about it is this mine that's so close to it, and I think that's quite a unique element, and you know, definitely kind of took me by surprise when I visited Kalgoorlie, you know, many years ago, and I was shocked at how close it is and how much of an impact it has on the actual town itself. Like, for instance, there's quite a lot of trucks that are driving around the streets. And, you know, a lot of the culture is based around the mine. So there's a lot of people in high vis and a lot of trucks kind of around him. It kind of feels like everyone is mine orientated. You know, it's not just like this job that exists somewhere. It's almost like everybody's part of the mine. You know, whether or not that's true, as an outsider, as a tourist going to that place, it really kind of has that vibe. So, you know, I really kind of wanted to make this kind of mining town and, you know, portray that element through this sort of town. And whether or not I achieve it or not, like, who knows. But this whole series is going to be, have a bit of a mining kind of idea to it and a bit of a theme to it. Have a couple of really cool assets that I'm going to use. I kind of put the call out last episodes to anybody who's interested in contributing a little bit to the series. The call is still there. Like I would really love someone to build me some mine trucks, because there's some cool ones on the workshop, but I just would love some dirty old ones. So, if anyone could point me in that direction, would really, really love that. The roads that I am building in this town are super unique. And by that I mean, it took me a while to kind of get the idea and to figure out how I was going to make these roads. And the reason why I wanted to make them this way is the roads in this town are going to be super wide, because there are actually quite a lot of trucks driving through it. And there's quite a lot of traffic considering it's a small town. When I say a lot of traffic, I mean there's a lot of heavy traffic, but there's probably not that many people who actually live here. So I wanted the roads to be wide, but the workshop doesn't, the vanilla roads and even Networks extension, the mod, doesn't really have roads that are really that wide. So I ended up using highways, and whether or not they're going to completely work, I mean, this is the first time, and I've kind of experimented a little bit with them, and I'm not even 100% sure they're going to work, but I've used these highways as the roads so that I can kind of expand them a little bit. So I've got 2 lanes of traffic, and then I've also got these, I've expanded it just around here. You can see me kind of working on it. I've expanded it to kind of support a bit of car park, like street side car parking. And this is like the only way I could really figure out how to get street side parking in, wide roads. So, the foot traffic around here isn't, there's not a huge amount of foot traffic. So, I'm trying to figure out ways of encouraging people to kind of walk around this sort of area. And and also I'm pretty sure that buildings are going to, sit around this area without complaining too much. When I first started this, it kind of looked like a lot of the industry needed more customers, but that seems to be just a problem in general. So hopefully people can actually access these commercial buildings and the industry around here. And, hopefully the highways, will still support that. What I'm hoping will happen is that foot traffic is going to come from these alleys that I've placed kind of intersecting the roads, the highways around here. And, I'm kind of hoping that industry will kind of still have people visiting and working and all that sort of stuff. But, it's really important for me in this series to have, a bit of freedom to work on this, kind of like large footpaths and large roads, and it has to look a really particular way. And after quite a bit of time of experimenting, I think I could achieve that look pretty well. If you're not familiar with like Australian architecture, the workshop is surprisingly has developed quite a lot over the couple of years that it's kind of been out there. And it's, there's a couple of people who have released quite a lot of Australian architectural buildings, but then there's also a lot of buildings that are actually really similar to Australian architecture. Like some exist in the US, we share similar architecture, but it's mostly from the UK that I'm getting a lot of these buildings from. Somebody has released, and I can't remember your username on Steam, but somebody's released some really great Australian buildings that you can see me popping down here. A lot of them are pubs, which is just a godsend because, kind of like the UK, we have pubs on every corner, and without pubs, like it just would not look like Australia. So, it's really important that I could actually plop them down, and, I'll probably use the same ones. I've probably got about 6 to choose from, but, you're going to be seeing pretty much a pub on every corner. And this awning that I'm popping down here, oh man, this was kind of like a game changer for me, because the awnings I don't know if it's the same in the US, but commercial areas have awnings on pretty much every single building. And you know, it just like on the workshop, there's just like nothing. There's basically nothing with an awning. And I kind of didn't know how I was going to place down an awning. But yeah, kind of like found this cover, and I don't think it's called an awning on the workshop. I think it's called something different. And I found this, and it just kind of works really well. So I kind of just plopped that down, and I think it achieved the look pretty well. The roundabout at the moment has tons of trees, and I really toned that down. So you'll check it. You'll see it in the time lapse, the cinematic at the end. I do tone down those trees quite a lot, so a lot of it doesn't change. But even the workshop has huge amounts of Australian bush, which is so cool. And that's pretty much all thanks to P. Delmo and Mr. Mason. It actually is all those guys. Pretty much all my trees are from those guys. So yeah, I mean, I can't shout those guys out enough. It's pretty much a game changer for me. I wouldn't be able to make this series without such great asset creators. And so yeah, my appreciation is always, I'm always very appreciative. What else am I doing? What else can I talk about? Thanks everybody who's been commenting on this series so far. I mean, it's crazy the amount of Australians that are, you know, kind of part of this series, and I guess non-Australians that are part of this series that are, you know, putting their 2 cents and tell me what they'd like to see, and, you know, things that they'd like to, you know, places where they've been or places where they live. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy the amount of people who are from Kalgoorlie who have actually commented on this channel. I actually didn't even realize. Somebody even said that they're like granddad or they're like uncles, like the mayor of it. That's ridiculous. Like, I had no idea. So yeah, I mean, it's really cool that people are kind of, you know, getting in touch like that. I think it's ridiculous the amount of people who are actually into Cities Skylines. Like, it seems, I was listening to the radio the other day and a presenter was talking about it, and I was like, what? But it's cool that people have been getting in touch and, you know, telling me about places that they've been around Australia and, you know, places that they live. I think that's really cool. And it's cool that, you know, I can even have the tools to even make places like this, because, you know, when I remember this game first came out, you know, we were kind of stuck with vanilla buildings and they're pretty crap. You know, I use quite a few of them these days with Move It and, you know, props all around them. But, you know, in the early days, oh man, I bloody hated them. But, you know, the new stuff that's coming out is just so good. Not the new expansions. Definitely not the new expansions. We are kind of getting a little closer to the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's always very encouraging. If you haven't already done it, definitely hit the like button. I mentioned it in the last episode, and man, it helped heaps, and you know, it just changes a lot. So you know, not gonna say get into the habit of hitting it, but definitely hit it more often. it's always very well received. So thank you guys. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel and you're enjoying this, definitely go and do that before you leave. Before we do leave, I am kind of just working on a bit of a medium here. I noticed that King Leno released some concrete versions of this. You know, he pretty much released it the day I was about to email him to, you know, make concrete versions. So, you know, if you're watching this, mate, thank you so much for them. They're perfect. They're actually really, you know, they're like on every Australian road. So I'm going to be using them a lot. Like, I'm not sure if it's similar in the US, but like, I know that pretty much every intersection has a concrete medium where people kind of, you know, pedestrians stand on to cross, and, you know, it's just going to add a lot of realism. I haven't even used it yet, but I'm super keen to get into that. I'm also about to plop down, for the very first time, an asset created by Crazy Glueit. I contacted him a couple of months ago to, you know, make some assets for me for Australia. And, you know, it turned out he's actually a dual citizen of the US and Australia. And he was super keen to do it. So, oh man, like, without him, like, without a Woolworths and all the other assets that he's made for me, this Australian series just would not be possible. So yeah, I definitely encourage you to go and check out his channel, his Steam workshop. It's sitting on there already, and you know, it's already got tons of likes, probably all from Australians. I have seen, you know, Skipper has used the Woolworths a couple of times, and you know, it looks great. It looks great in any sort of area. So yeah, man, super appreciative of that. Definitely go and check out his workshop collection if you haven't done that already. He's actually also made a Bunnings, which I really needed. I mean, if you're not from Australia, like, Bunnings would not be overseas, I don't think. I don't know, is Bunnings overseas? I don't think it is. I've never seen it overseas. It's such an Australian icon, the Bunnings warehouse. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't checked out a Bunnings warehouse, go and check that out if you've never heard of it. It's a pretty iconic Australian thing. So definitely needed that in the city. That's going to come up a little bit later. I actually really wanted to plop that down in the coastal area of this series, but I really just haven't got into that yet. I will have to place it down, probably in this Broken Hill part of the series somewhere. It just looks so good. But this Woolworths just fits so perfectly in this area. It modulates. It's very module. Ugh, don't seem like words. It fits really well. It fits really well in this sort of area, and you know, it just fits like flush against those other buildings, which is really cool. These car parks I'm plopping down, they're not, you know, they don't have people parking there. I just have to plop down some props to encourage people to kind of sit there and you know, a lot of this city actually is non-functional. It's pretty much just totally aesthetics, and you know, that is pretty much the theme for this series is, you know, aesthetics, and you know, getting a bit of an Australian feel to it. I'm not really kind of going for a practical city, though I am kind of tempted to, I don't know, it might sound ridiculous, but I think it'd be pretty cool to start another series just totally on, you know, being practical and playing the game. But like, I don't know, I should probably put my hand down for more series and just focus on the ones that I got. Again, super sorry about all those guys who are waiting for Springwood. Nobody is hanging out for Springwood more than me. Like, I just, yeah, I've been building on that for ages, especially the next episode, but it's just not ready. And who knows, it might be out, but you know, right now I'm kind of looking at the clock, and I am knowing that I've got to get this job application done rather than probably record more episodes. So, you know, who knows if I finish it in time. I'll let you know in the description below. But guys, that is pretty much it for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. It always means a lot. I will see you guys probably in a couple of months when I get back from the US and I am back on schedule. If you need more information on that, definitely go and follow me on Twitter. The link is in my description. I'll be posting when I'm back and when I'm working on things. And yeah, in the meantime, have a great week. Have a great month, I guess. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. See ya.